Hey everybody, Joe from Six Cats Press here. It's Saturday. Let's go for a walk. But first we gotta admire the kitties. Oh, look at those kitties. Lulu Cooper, Finny Cat, Black Kitten. Yeah. Well, it's a little bit cooler out today than last time. According to my watch, it's only 11 degrees. So, oh well. I got some writing stuff I want to talk about. So let's talk about pen names. So, as I've said when I started the channel, I write using a pen name. And honestly, the reason for that's very simple. I have struggled with anxiety and depression for a long time, as many people in this day and age do. And when I started writing, I was really not confident in my writing abilities, and probably for good reason. So initially for me, pen name was a way to get some distance for any negative criticism that I got. And, luckily, I haven't had much, but I think that's mostly a fact of not many people have read what I've written so far. But yeah, so let's talk about writing plays, because that's what I started off doing. This is going to be a rambling about lots of different topics, obviously. So, I started off writing plays. I went to school for a theater degree, and part of that was we had to take like general education credits, and I had been working since grade 12 on a play. It's based on a true story that my drama teacher, well, he wasn't my drama teacher, but we did lots of shows together in high school, told from when he was a kid in high school. And trigger warning, obviously, coming up here. And he told me about a classmate of his that had, let's say, she lost her boyfriend due to a drug overdose. And so she decided she was going to join him by sitting on train tracks and waiting for, if you're from Toronto or you know anything about Toronto, the GO train to come and get her in the morning. And she spent all night sitting out on the train tracks waiting for this train to come, and of course didn't realize the trains don't run at night. So they ended up finding her in the morning, and everything was fine. And she, it was unfortunate her boyfriend died, but she lived and survived, and everything worked out for her. So I had been, and still am, completely in love with the work of Beckett, especially Waiting for Godot. And if you haven't seen, this is a play that you really need to see, I would say, because it's a show in which nothing happens, and it's a 2-hour-long play. And essentially, there's two main characters, Didi and Gogo, or Vladimir and Estragon, and they are waiting for this guy, Godot, to come to meet them. They're sitting on the side of the road under a tree. And they banter back and forth about why they're waiting, and none of them can seem to remember. And time passes. And eventually there's other characters that come. None of them are Godot. He never comes. Spoiler alert for a play that's almost 100 years old. Oh, shit. Sorry, asthma hack. So, I thought it would be really interesting to try to take that kind of concept of the absurdist play, Waiting for Godot, and combine it with this real-life story. And, obviously I didn't know any of the details. So this, other than the scenario, this whole thing was just made up by me. And I wrote it out in high school and expanded on it through university. And it was something that I had been fiddling with for, probably 10 years. And I wasn't writing anything else. I wasn't doing anything else creatively. And I decided I just needed to publish it so that it would be out there. Because once it's published, so I thought, you can't go in and change it afterward. And so that's the first thing that I published. And now it's no longer up on KDP. I did take it down. I do want to republish it eventually because I actually think it's a really good play. But, plays and publishing are challenging because, like I said, plays are really meant to be seen. Yeah, don't mind the hair, by the way. My hair grows in different directions, so when it's this particular length, it isn't heavy enough to lay flat. I need to get another haircut. Anyway, so that was the first thing that I ever did. The next thing that I did, I wrote a short story, and it was for a website that's popular in the adult stories, short stories community. And I wrote this when I was in university. Oh, maybe this isn't a great angle to be at. Let's walk sideways. and so I wrote this story, and you know, I published the first draft, right? I mean, because that's what amateurs do. And I'm probably still am a completely rank amateur, let's be honest. So I wrote this short story, and you know, the comments I got from it were actually really positive. I mean, it's a pretty supportive community on that website, and you know, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I had people saying things like it helped save their marriage, and I'm like, okay, that's crazy that something I wrote could even potentially have done that. So after that, I didn't really write anything for a number of years. Obviously, I was still fiddling with the play at that point, and once the play was done, I decided I wanted to work on something new. So, yeah. And that's when I wrote my next set of short stories for that website. And that was based on a visit I took with my dad to Flagstaff, Arizona. One of the things you guys don't know about me is that I'm a huge astronomy nerd, and I've got a bunch of telescopes, and I love astronomy. So Flagstaff, for those of you who don't know, is the home of the Lowell Observatory, and the Lowell Observatory is just an incredible place. It's where they discovered the dwarf planet Pluto. It's where they made lots of observations about the expansion of the Milky Way and the expansion of the galaxy, I should say. The galaxy, wow, Joe, it's obviously too early in the morning, I can't talk. The expansion of the universe. They did a lot of observations that proved that the universe was expanding, and redshift and all that. So when I was there, I actually had this story just fall into my head. And I didn't do anything with it because, you know, I wasn't sure, but it kept percolating in my brain. And then I was out on a deployment, and I had a lot of free time, so I decided to take a crack at writing the story. So I wrote it. I wrote out the first. It was kind of a three episode kind of story, and so I wrote that out, and I actually, for the first time, used the website's editors community, and that was a really eye-opening experience for me because I didn't know how much I didn't know, and it was wonderful to have that volunteer editor come and help me out. So I took a lot of the lessons learned, and I wrote the other two parts of the story, and it was so well received on that website. And I had been trying to write a novel. I'd done NaNoWriMo the year before, and the book that I'd written, while I was happy to have got 50,000 words in something, it was not great. But you know, it proved to me that I could do it. So I took my 3 short stories and I turned them into make sure I don't get hit by a car, turn them into a full-length novel. And that novel is actually the first thing that I seriously published. You know, that wasn't just I'll throw it up so that I don't tinker with it anymore. And that's the book that I have out right now. And I got an audiobook made out of it, and I'm super proud of that. So I'll talk about how that publication process went for that book. So I drafted it out, and like I said, I come from the theater world, and one of the things that theater does really well is support to the director and the writer in the form of what's called a dramaturg, or dramaturge, depends how you like to pronounce it. And what they do is they help out with research, and they're really kind of like a cross between researcher and a developmental editor. Like, they help you narrow down what your story is going to be. They help you flesh out details and bring life to the world. Ugh. Stupid son. So that's one of the things that I really found I missed from going from theater into writing novels. And what I ended up doing was finding a really great developmental editor called Nikki, and she was awesome. And she really helped me take this, 30,000 word story that really had all the story that I thought I knew about in there, and helped me turn it into a 60,000 word story that actually was publishable. So once I had done all that, I ended up working on it for a number of years and sent it out to beta readers, and they liked it. The feedback that I asked for was, if you had paid for this story, would you have been disappointed? Oh man, I'm so not confident in my writing. Maybe I am now, maybe I'm not. And got to deal with that. So then I one of my dreams, because one of the ways I consume books and the most is audiobook, and I've loved audiobooks ever since I was a kid, and I knew that I wanted an audiobook. In fact, I could hear it in my head when I was writing. I've got admittedly self-diagnosed aphantasia, so it's hard for me to imagine new things. It's easy for me to remember things. So one of the things I really liked about writing my book was that I had been to all the places. In the story, they go to obviously they're in Flagstaff, where I'd been a couple of times, and then they went to Australia, and they went to a bunch of places that I've been in Australia, and to Vegas, which of course been 2 tons, and block the sun. Good morning. And so then when I'm recalling places, it's really easy for me to describe them because I can remember them really well. But coming up with new places is challenging for me. Anyway, but I could hear it. I could hear the story like as if it was an audiobook while I was writing it. And so one of the things that was really important to me, because I realized that the chances of anybody ever reading or hearing my book were slim, but I knew I wanted an audiobook that I could feel proud of, because this was a project that I really had sunk a lot of my heart and soul into. And so I had an audiobook made at Find a Way Voices, and it was so great to deal with those guys. I had a blast. I'm really sorry if you're watching this and you're just getting blinded by the sun. It's just at a weird angle, and I'll walk in the wrong direction. So it was really getting that audiobook done meant the world to me. So eventually I settled on a date and decided I was going to publish. I had it edited one more time by a copy editor, sent that off to Find a Way. They made the audiobook for me with my narrator Josiah, who was great, and it was really a great experience. So then of course I released it and nothing happened, as you do. So I think what I needed to learn, I learned a lot about the writing process, but where I need to grow and where I need to continue to grow is the marketing process. And you're probably in the same place, or maybe you've got the opposite experience. Maybe you know how to market and you have issues with writing. I'm certainly not going to say I'm perfect, because anyone who's watched any of this will know for a fact that I'm not. I barely know what I'm doing, but I'm just enjoying it so much that I can't imagine not doing it anymore, I don't know that I'll make an audiobook this time around, because it was really expensive, and I am proud to have had an audiobook made. But I don't know if I'd be able to afford it again, because book publishing is expensive. I always laugh when I hear people say things like, oh, self-publishing's so good because anyone can do it, democratizing publishing. Well, yes, anyone can do it, but you're never, if the whole idea of publishing is to have your book be read by people, you have to have a good cover. You have to have it edited. You have to have it edited multiple times. If you want an audiobook, you got to pay for that, unless you are able to get royalties to cover it. So you know, a lot of self-publishing does take money. And yes, theoretically anyone can do it. I know. Hope that truck isn't too loud. Like, I know Amazon has a cover designer tool you can use on their website, or they did. I would not suggest that. So yeah, that's kind of where I've come from, and that's kind of what I've done. And let me allay any fears right now. I did not start this YouTube channel to try to promote my books. I started this YouTube channel to be part of a community on YouTube about writing, and to be part of a group that'll help me hold myself accountable. Because if I'm just sitting up there in the room with me, you know, I've got my work computer on one side, well, I could always do some extra work or something. I've got my gaming computer, my flight sim computer on the other side. I've got YouTube in the middle. Why write? Well, doing this really helps me keep myself accountable so that I can say something every week. And, you know, I know that if you're watching this, I really appreciate that you watch this, but I know that I'm never going to probably be able to compete with some of the bigger channels. But, you know, even having that one or two people watch and comment helps me to keep going. And it can be a struggle, right? Like, doing this 500 words a day writing goal is a bit of a challenge, you know. It's more of a challenge than I thought it would be. Like, 500 words comes, and it comes really fast, but there's something about doing it every day that I find tiring, you know. Like, I'm not letting myself take breaks. I'm not letting myself say I'm too tired. I'm doing it every day for a month, because that's the challenge. And, you know, if I was not documenting this, I don't want to say that I think I would have stopped, but it's possible, right? So, yeah. Accountability, right? Documenting it, even if very few people will hold you to it, is a mindset thing, you know? Like, a lot of I find with writing, for me, is there's part of it that's all about belief, like believing you can do it. I'm going to sit on a swing, because why not? There's a lot of believing you can do it, and then there's a lot of believing that you should do it, or that you know, believing that you should do it, or believing that you need to, right? And when I say need to, I don't really mean like, oh, you need to do this, but like that you, how can I put this in some sort of eloquent way? Writer brain, Joe, writer brain. Like, mindset and that believing that you can do it is a big one, but also believing that it's something that's worth doing really is the big one, right? Because it's so easy, I mean, for me to think about my story and go, ooh, there's so much that I haven't done, and, you know, I'm not really sure that my initial outline, you know, the turn, the thought of what happens to cause this, one of the big conflicts towards the end of the book. Oh, well, maybe it doesn't make sense, you know, and then you stop and you think, oh, well, I'll keep writing again when I figure it out. But there's still so much book between where you are and the end, or for me, where I am and the end. I should stop making it so unpersonal. So there's so much book still between where I am and to that point that, you know, by the time I get there, I'll probably have it figured out. So, yeah, and I guess that brings me to the next point of plotting versus pantsing, because for this book, I plotted. I hybrid plotted. So I used Novel Factory, and I came up with, you know, I had a concept in my idea for what I wanted to do, and that was basically a small band from Canada, Airdrie, Calgary area, where I am, makes it big. That's the concept. You know, they make it big, but then things go wrong, or things go wrong to the character, one of the characters. And, you know, and then Novel Factory is like, okay, so write it out as, you know, 3 sentences. Then, okay, now write it out to 500 words and expand on it. And then, well, I'm able to add in more detail. Great, now take that and turn it into 1,500 words. And by the time I was done, you know, then it's like, okay, break that down into scenes and chapters. And it really helped me settle in where the story was going, and I built my Scrivener file out and I slapped all that in, and then honestly I haven't really looked at it since, because I know in my head where the story's going. I know the milestones, I know where I want to be at, well, I thought I knew where I wanted to be at particular word counts. But then once I'm in there, the scenes, I kind of do point form scene outlining, very short, like how Rachel Aaron does it. And then I just go. And for my first book, the one that I've already got out, my scenes were about 1,500 words. Well, now they're about 3,000 words. I was struggling to reach 60,000 words, and I'll be at 60,000 words probably in the next week or two. And there's still a lot more story to go, so it's going to help me to get my word counts up with actual story, not with going back in and trying to find things to add. Hope this wind isn't too terrible. So that was it's kind of an opposite problem to have. Before I was underwriting, and now I might actually be overwriting, which is, again, it's new for me to be at that point. So my first book, I did the Rachel Aaron method. I mean, I shouldn't even say that, because I never knew I was writing a book when I was first writing those 3 short stories. So ultimately, with those 3 short stories, I took them, I slapped them into a file, broke them out into chapters, and said, okay, what can I add that isn't going to feel like it's shoehorned in? And for those scenes, I did the Rachel Aaron method. Because when I first wrote the book, I'd never heard of Rachel Aaron. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please check out Rachel Aaron's 2K to 10K. And if you don't want to buy the book, go on her blog where she breaks it all out for free. It's a great technique that I use a lot when I was on cruise ships to get my word counts up really fast so that I could actually have something to edit when I got home. Because, you can't edit a blank page. So that is, that's how this all shook out. So that's where I'm at right now with my second book. I did hit my 50,000 words. I did not do a video, I'm sure you noticed. It was 5 in the morning. I just couldn't sleep, so I woke up and I did my 500 words, and actually did 800 words, and I hit that mark, and I did my little dance in my chair, but I didn't bother recording a video. Didn't want to wake anybody else up in the house. And it's forward momentum. And one of the things I found with the story is once I'm writing, now that I'm writing every day and I'm doing this project, I find the story kind of eats at me a little bit more. It spends a lot of time, like when I was doing the cruise thing, I'd write, and then I'd come home and I'm burned out and I'm exhausted of writing, not of in general. And then I wouldn't do anything. Well, now, doing 500 as a minimum, no maximum, but 500 as a minimum, I really find I find the story is asking to be written more and more every day. If I am on the weekends, it's easy for my word counts to creep up. So generally on the weekends, I'm doing 800 words a day in 20-25 minutes. And again, trying to do this challenge as forming a habit. And so I'm not, going crazy like I would on a cruise ship on my days off. But I'm writing, and that's ultimately the point. So anyway, hopefully I'll be able to edit this down into something somewhat coherent and not completely embarrassing to publish. But thanks for coming on my walk. I'm gonna keep walking, not done yet, and we'll see if I am able to talk to you next week. YouTube channel is going to go dark for a couple of weeks because, like I said earlier, I'm going to be out in the field, and while I may be able to record YouTube videos, I probably won't be able to post them. I don't think the internet's going to be that good, if we have any at all, and so I'll probably be picking it back up again in late August or early September. And hopefully it's not so cold that I can't still walk, because walking really helps to me to keep creative anyway, and it'll be good. Yeah, got to enjoy these walking months while you have them before it's -40 for months on end in the winter. Not quite so much fun to go for a walk then. Anyway, catch you later.